We are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Millett, the one, and this is the quarantine stream. This is 48th one. And let us now hear the ever beautiful, ever lovely, ever wonderful, ever glorious, ever green quarantine stream theme, shall we? Ah, it says like the singing of the angels themselves. Right. Hope you're all doing okay out there. Hope you're getting vaccinated. All that business. Ah. This is a book put out very recently. You should go read it. It's really good. It's called Apples and I Swimming Together in Soapy Water. This is called Dance the Night Away. A blue wave sprayed gently onto the window. It remained an unfaded crescent reaching over the rooftop. Birds flew through untethered. Droplets yawned in sonorous applause. The shape succumbed, giving way by matching passing movements. As when water splashes in the sky, a maypole stands unraveled, while a sunfish kisses a butterfly. The fences were then a canvas, soaked tissue paper sprung over electrical wires, fragile fork tails freshly shaven, as bronze tiger beetles glanced up at the heavens. Dance the night away! All right. This is called Fawn. Two brothers named Canary were said to have stolen from the community chest. They didn't have the decency to steal from the wealthy, take what they need, and give away the rest. But the law couldn't be trusted and thus were never called, so the Canaries were chastised and marched to the town walls. The locals hoped word would travel down the wire and that they'd be denied food, lodgings, and water wherever they retired. But quickly enough, the Canaries were forgotten and continued to ride along freely without judgment or punishment, and if they committed any further acts of thievery, it was never noted publicly. Griffith, resplendent in a natty navy suit, steals Jessica's champagne in a wrong-headed attempt to give it back later as a gift, thinking that she'll appreciate it more, while Jessica, powerful yet delicate in a mellow peppermint pencil dress, rubs the bristle of Griffith's temples into his sweat and wonders how many texts he'll have to hide from her next. Griffith says he can break skin without bleeding. He dyes water blue before he drinks. He memorizes reviews, then skips to the end of the books that he reads. Jessica can get arrested and go straight home and spend the rest of her week yelling at strangers on the street and snapping reaction shots at the backs of their heads. Griffith is flummoxed as he's photographed exiting his favorite bar in the early morning, his mother's birthday on his mind and a lone cigarette tucked behind his ear. Jessica is photographed ironically flashing a peace sign on the beach, her mother's week-long visit thankfully now over. Griffith explains to his extended family the nature of his many public feuds and why they will persist, and then bats away a leading question by their lawyer, disregarding being disproven by facts, feeling justified in thinking that the best way to reconcile a discrepancy is to attack, or might have been dreamt of in a different way. They made fun of his family name. They insulted his family name. They made fun of his family name. They insulted his family name. Jessica explains to the management at her company that discounting what could be considered her offensive language, the inherent truth of her statement still stood, though she was struck speechless when asked if she thought only her supporters were aware of her content. According to her informants, a known opponent, unaware she was being recorded, made a remark, the weight of which contradicted her previously publicly stated stance. The prize fish! Fawn's teeth snap on the water when her magnetic coil alertness goes unrewarded. Satsuki states ideas for posterity. The problem that I see is that they assume everyone who agrees with them about one thing agrees with them about everything. The problem that I see is that it's another version of corporate thinking, another way of being right-wing. The problem that I see is that they assume that I'll be a standard bearer. The problem that I see is that they are only willing to write their words out in chalk. The problem that I see is that they limit me to things that I had no control over. The problem that I see is that their personal truth has no dialogue with honesty. Satsuki states ideas she would likely later delete. I'll never be able to stop forcing emotions from myself. I'll never be able to be an eggshell. I'll never be able to be a pierced genital. I'll never be able to convince people. I saunter past the bar and the JPEGs of 2003 like it means anything. I step over the bar and resurfaced insisting that sounds like a rhinestone. I ignore the bar and the people whose minds comprise the seventh circle. I shake my head at the bar, hoping to get money from acquaintances for friendship services. Satsuki notes things she's overheard. I try and fail and cannot help but hate the people who stay past closing and get distracted where there's a webcam on the wall, hoping no one saw you picking pepper out of your teeth while thinking, oh, it's all like modern art and this is being seen somewhere and I'm the subject in this moment, this ultimate moment. Take a drink, the gaze. Take a drink, it's empowering. I wonder if I know them. Old movies to me are like Dream a Little Dream. I wouldn't watch anything older because I'd be bored and I wouldn't even know what they were talking about. It's called Sacrifice the Satellite. Moments before dawn, phone ringing, unable to suss if it was happening from impressions born in shallow sleep while lights flicked on in neighbors' windows. Or, as the drift sees me back in, we were gunrunners trapped in a house, detained by police, threatened by rivals, but I was able to slither out a side door and snuck away to a cafe where I was supposed to summon assistance, but decided instead, the hell with them. I was called to a room. The walls of the hallway were blue, and when I entered, there they sat, looking exactly as they did in 1984. When one spoke, there was no sound from their mouths, but the words sank loudly in my skull. Crushed flowers float downstream in the rainwater, and handmade smokestacks drip steam on half-awake blades of grass. New nuns count the gray hairs of their predecessors as they scan old photographs. Will they question who's alive in heaven? Are their words papering a mountain? They will have a moment where they behold the beauty of an empty screen or unplowed, snow-covered street. Lost in a world between are the souls who only dream when looking up. Thick, shimmering splotches of gray grease liquefy and start to drip down rust-colored walls of skins, watched by a babe with a flashbulb embedded in their wrist, who sits on gouged black and gold tiles in the center of a disused ballroom dance floor, among carelessly flung piles of metal-pronged monitors, cords, discs, spilled coffee grounds, broken vodka bottles, and asymmetrical platinum wigs. Every year there's a whisper the inventory will get a clean transfer. Winston Dubois knew the recovered money was wrapped in a mosquito net and secured in the back of a carriage. The horse stopped in front of an Air Force base, which got inadvertently captured on videotape with the footage dissected by theorists for decades. Desmond Hampton learned Tony Chamberlain had double-crossed him as he drank milk and clapped erasers together outside his classroom. His signature had been forged and hidden throughout the system. The younger best brother thinks, if only I were a CEO buying companies whose names I don't know and could leverage my credibility to simultaneously flaunt my status and champion myself as an obscurity. The older best brother thinks, if only I were an oligarch and had a tapestry of machinery to do what I want, live in seclusion, invest in rare art, and pay for a hooker who looks like my daughter. Lost in a world between are the souls who only dream when looking up. The beams of starshine light land everywhere and leave valley-wide fingerprints for 7 years. Minute glass tubes can shiver without bursting squid ink on glistening diamonds, laid out on linen, spirals scrawled on maps with the location leading inside a puzzle box, while fungus slides up to a microscope and mixes with vinegar and bleach. Circles of sapphires line the linoleum tile with a surface so improbably clear it mimics a screen. Lost in a world between are the souls who only dream when looking up. This is from the new book. This is called Investigating Mitsy. She rides around the merry-go-round, wearing satin slippers, chewing pink peppercorns. Her eyes are a miracle in the way they paint names in the minds of rain clouds. The lightning reaches out to introduce itself. The Queen of Atlantis draws filigree for the king while he's taking his bath. Bristling lips kiss the teeth of the key ring and lick ankles in math. She holds a bouquet of clarinets, wearing a lavender herringbone robe and nodding at buckets of soap. Her elbows hold her weight on the sand dune decorated with still wet seashells and teacups half filled with a treacle she pours onto tree roots. The Queen of Atlantis plans where the French and English will meet. The king eats suckling pig and excites the court over soaking his feet. How we doing out there? We doing okay? Beautiful. This is called A Moderate Man. I went walking through the morning to enjoy the autumn air, and I came upon a clearing. Some folk from in town greeted me graciously as they stood waiting. Frank then strode into the center of the circle with 3 men by his side. Frank abruptly unfolded his note and started speaking. The 3 men reshaped in a line behind Frank as his inimitable voice intoned, "Men in masks shall not live on your land, for they are cowards whose spirits are trapped. Thou art born without caste. Your soul is unshared, and judgment shall not be passed or carried out by committee on your quiet acts." Frank, flanked by the 3 men, then swiftly left, while the crowd collectively shuddered, and there were mutterings of, "What Frank giveth doth not equal what he takes. Heart of fowl, eyes of a snake, words of an apostate." I followed the trail back to my home whilst conversing with Pastor Corbett. Upon reaching my front gate, he looked me square in the eye and said, just because I am prone to help my neighbor in good faith, family or friend that doth not make. This is called Submerging. My thoughts stop. My muscles go slack. I sink into the gray water. I rise up, pick up shells, and see something inside. I see a spotlight bathed in cream, a turtle swimming slowly, and bioluminescent plankton out past the reef. I am not a follower. I have nothing to prepare for. I am not the leader. I've got no form. At this moment, I'm no one's son, except for my father's father's father. My head stays underneath, no new oxygen, but for the time being, I've got all I need. I'm not the follower. I've got nothing to wait for. I'm not the leader. I'm just being born. At this moment, I'm no one's son, except for my mother, the clouds, the sun, the land, the water. All is one. All is one. I have come. All is one. Open reach. All is one. To infinity. All is one. Circle soul. All is one. Bird's beak. All is one. Silver seed. All is one. We have come. This is called Windy Sequins. Through the missing bricks, you can see a banquet table with a candelabra crooked from water-falling wax. On the other side of the missing bricks is a tablecloth with faintly gray claw stains left by mourning doves. Through the missing bricks, there is a banquet table, heaving with indentations from apples, persimmons, cantaloupes, and pears. On the other side of the missing bricks, there is a deer walking in the distance while a finger painting floats to the ground. Through the missing bricks, there is a banquet table with unopened telegrams and sturdy silver trays stacked with books about the Enlightenment. On the other side of the missing bricks, there is a pebble garden placed on a tree branch next to a mortar and pestle. Through the missing bricks, there is a banquet table lined along the bottom right edge with bowls of cold dandelion soup. Seated 45 degrees away from the banquet table is a man with a salt and pepper waxed mustache humming waltzes and complaining about the distortions of sounds and colors. 110 years old, and he doesn't know that electric blue can be beautiful too. It's called Sympathy for the Cowboy. Sympathy for the cowboy, all alone on the range. After the war ended, he was forced to change his name. Sympathy for the cowboy, holding his dying brother, who begged with his last breath, "Tell mother I died with honor." Sympathy for the meth lab and all who fight in harm's way, who hope to abolish minimum wage and charge only $15 a day. Sympathy for modern times and those who argue they're right. Sympathy for the victim who already has all the laws on their side. Sympathy for the student who's only lived in theory, in a hammer and sickle t-shirt, walking away from the barricade. Sympathy for the lawsuit and all who fought for reform. Sympathy for the bumper sticker telling you to be reborn. Sympathy for the stallion, running free and too wild to ride. Sympathy for the motherfucker who tried, his wife cried, him and his foolish pride. Sympathy for the strawberry and the trial separations, press releases pleading for privacy, and, of course, doing it for the kids. Sympathy for the nihilist, sucking on his cigarette, cutting you off in traffic, no constraints of guilt or regret. Sympathy for the stalker, on his computer outside, looking at pictures of you in high school, saving each one, even if it takes him all night. Sympathy for the cowboy, whose son moved off the ranch, said he might be coming back soon, if there's no change of plans. This is called Prostate of the Union. Well, it's been fourscore for you, living the sweet depression sanctuary of solitude. I laugh behind your back and call you honky with an attitude, 'cause you fool yourself cohabitating in reality, banality, too high on yourself to taste your own mortality. I'd love to slap you, but I'm just too sweet for brutality. My fairy feller friend wallows in his Gen X apathy. He cuts his right hand just to see it bleed. He'll never realize life's more than his own room, you see, 'cause he got sold down the river, working from 8 till 3. Little lost soul coasting on puppy dog love, listening to wedding bells and chasing all the doves. Well, friend, open your eyes wide, 'cause the girl's screwing in the corner you picked for your bride. Too warped with illusions to see that she lied, so go to a party and get your brain cells fried. So now I roll with the suburban poet god Moses, bought into it all, pricked himself on the roses, thought he was above the hype slang in the scene, woke up one day from his marijuana dream and spent the rest of his youth just trying to keep clean. What a waste, said the sheriff when he arrived at the scene. But her individuality came at a price, dyed the hair purple and tossed the social dice. Her floodlight parties were a big old smash, but lack of skater pants brought on the backlash. Now she sits there just like wet ash, garbling the words, where the hell's my stash? Now take a look at girlfriends sitting all on her own, got no one to call, don't even got a home, ripping off the talk and copping the look. Be sure to be cool and read all the right books, dealing with the devils, trying to get some time, ain't got no thoughts, so she tries to leech mine, sounds like a fool when she calls up and whines. And they'll all spend their lives standing in checkout lines. And they did. This is called Diamond Mine. Water rushing so fast it looks like knotted wood. Its sound a ceaseless, perpetual crash in static blue and black. Droplets burst over the plank sides and dot the dirt or land on kicked-out bricks, and from the ravine's opposite angle the water seems to glide clockwise, rolling ever nearer toward the gears and into the factory where 7 years previous the core of the industry sunk unexpectedly early, and like a defense attorney the treasurer ruled the materials used were archaic and their methods unrealistic, and as demand seized up the foreman and night shift technicians acidly joked they were laboring within the Great Repression. For ages it seemed like the beams from the afternoon sun wouldn't come, but we later learned the view was obscured from a flood started in the diamond mine. We know it's either tacitly implied or we're told outright. You can't be seen like that. You need lights. When money is exchanged and you're finally responsible and realistic, you can't be seen like that. You need lights. Know the value of being articulate and reconsider your obscure subject. You need to stay in the lines. You need to revise. Realize the need to eliminate images that would be unwise to present or ideas you'd be unable to defend. Why persist if honest people cannot implicitly understand? You can't be seen like that. You need lights. For years it seemed like the beams from the afternoon sun wouldn't come, but we later learned the view is obscured from a flood that started in the diamond mine. Back in the head office, on the desk next to the coffee, scissors, and gold pen set was a black leather envelope, and that morning's newspaper whose sub-headline read, "Forget Forgetfulness," and detailed a local photographer who makes elaborate, enormous, near-twin gelatin prints of events, one real and one staged, and described the effect as painting over paintings. When asked by the reporter who will get this, the photographer remarked, "Anyone who misses being pure or ever imagined placing one point in time over another. Anyone who pictures the shape of ideas and not the shape of their own mind. Anyone who sees a crowd and tries to find the people in disguise." Later, the paper lay open to the crossword puzzle, and among answers written in indeterminate script were asides like, "Does purpose follow appearance? Where is this from? Reasons better than because." And finally, determining what to become. It's called Cheltenham Girl. Like a cloud, beautiful sound, standing before the signal. When the light shines on the ground, it reflects off the wheel. Parking lot next to the short building on the edge of the desert. She sees it's harder to be a number when you're just starting out as a visitor. Cheltenham Girl. Cheltenham Girl. Clouds can't create the shapes they make or hold on to any rain. Precious, temporary, holding no domain. No machines, no cell phone or computers, clicking through broken links. Credit card, social security needed. She'll refuse to register. She really will. She really will. Cheltenham Girl. Cheltenham Girl. Another day, another wish, another mile, closer to the point where I can portray it. Until then, all I'll do is sing to her spirit, and she will return. She will return. She will return. She will return. How are we doing out there? Excuse me. This is also from the new book. This is called Should I Go In? The silver peppermill whispers to the hammer that she's an airport. And though she never really shows anybody, I still know that she's an airport. If you stop at her coffee shop, she'll charge you extra for a plastic top. The well-water ice cubes have heard this tale before, but she's an airport. A zebra's chewing gum can confirm the reports that she's an airport. If you take off your shoes after the security stop, she'll throw them in the air and they'll land in the baggage cart. Run down the runway into the center of the day, where the sun is pointing down to the ground. Reach all the way down to touch your toes and remember a story you'll want to pass along someday. Run down the runway into the center of the day where the sun is pointing to the ground. Reach all the way down to touch your toes and remember a story you'll want to pass along someday. Cessna Tropria Dina Rareta Siam Raf Delifitutun Rox Glats Raretam Saidnak Erat Kaf Gininips Evit Kelfer Selbuab. She's an airport, and her father is a farm filled with corn stalks. Her mother is a candy factory spinning reflective baubles. She's an airport, and her father is a farm filled with corn stalks. Her mother is a candy factory spinning reflective baubles. If I could talk to you, I will, Samoran. Just like in today's world of opinion and denunciation and admirable like in pictures and friendliness and outward inliness, maybe I'm on the thrust of that. She dreamed she was a train draped in robin's egg lace. She couldn't keep still in one place. She dreamed she was the only train running on the 4th of July, filled with whipped cream to burst and streamers to fly. She dreamed she was a train running past the impound lot, and after every platform on the route, she'd whisper, "I still love Phil." Always have, always will. Always have, always will. She was sad when they closed the gates at night. She dreamed she was a train filled with die-cast metal engines and cowboy hats, ordered by the civil rights worker's favorite daughter. She dreamed she was a train, her earrings were flashing orange lights. She waves hello to the one car she'd stopped at the tiny suburban crossing, a train to get the tracks loose and rattling. Rattling tracks reminds her of those aunts and uncles talking over each other at her grandmother's birthday. Rattling tracks reminds her of those aunts and uncles talking loudly over each other's birthday, desperately trying to keep their dentures tucked in there against their gums, making loud sounds as they talk, as they argue about sports scores and how much grapes cost and the different routes they took to get there that day. People with names like Des and Buster, all of them talking loudly over each other's at her grandmother's birthday. Birthday! Any requests? It's called They Never Felt Sorrow. Mind recover recourse cavern, cowlick, garlic, wrapped in rape, duck blood, punching wino porno, spinning span spew, lacerating, stomach bleeding, howling dirge, summer camp, bitch boy, never ending, never mind, I'm just your soul, ass preaching, psycho dancers, wildly flashing life dance, owl slop, teasing, jeering, genocide, clown of fools, crucifixion, demigod, good morning, phallic moon, looking, lurking, thoughts stealing, marquee peace lemme, understanding, underhanding, fetal genes, spleen spill, lip smart, claustrophobic exaltation, spreading love, semi-happy, sleep feather finger grinding sand, carpetbagger, through the heart, silver bullet for all to see. Street scene, blue jean, bow tie, syrup cracker, kicking speed, flare monkey, overwhelming, coffee lush, dead unharmed, roast teeth, parking lane, culture store, house shock, sleepy diction, slicking rabbi, madly turned, tired heart. Syncopation, simulation, belt sanding, reaping now, OB siren stroll, lost forever, pointing blank, flashing flasher, abstractly red writ tax void, corrosion slicing, tired brain cell, paranoid lumpen self. called Everyone. Too late in the evening, 7:45. That man around the corner lost his ring in a fight. Here comes St. Thomas walking through the door, found himself an auction, bought everything on the floor. I don't wake up too early. I don't cut my face. I don't call any strangers, and I don't go looking for their graves. Everyone gets half of what they want and half of what they don't. Half of what they couldn't and half of what they won't. Pork chops in the kitchen above the sink, there's a light. No milk on the table for the blink of an eye. Up the road is a driveway where they come out paid. Yeah, they come out smiling, dead cats in their way. Everyone gets half of what they want and half of what they don't. Half of what they couldn't and half of what they won't. This is called Parallel Place. I live in a parallel place where the land is level, where the streets are bright in the evenings, and I know what tomorrow brings. I live in a parallel place where the wind is cold, where gray-haired men sweep the band shell and foxes sleep under church bells. I hear the lank-haired women walking in the morning, their faces shaped by the sun. I live in a parallel place where there's endless electricity with very low voltage, where everyone dies of old age. I live in a parallel place where rain runs into a tunnel, where able-bodied women clear the gutters and dragonflies rise in a slow-motion flutter. I see the able-bodied men hauling fallen branches, their faces shaded by the sun. I live in a parallel place where people speak in peace, where the foreman's spouse greets the mailman in a see-through blouse. I live in a parallel place where the forest faces east, where contracts are written in invisible ink, and codes are created with a wink. I see all the people breathing through the day, their faces graced by the sun. Blissful cardinals, blissful infants, blue reflections magnified 10,000 times, blue beams bouncing off aged lenses, radiant artifacts, radiant heirlooms, white sails blistered by the salty sun, white china stacked up in cupboards, shining domes, shining necklaces, green feelings balanced on a yardstick, green parchment weighted down by grapes. This is indirectly dedicated to Jennifer. It's called I Got Away Alive and Sane. I've been living like the whole FBI died in a Kool-Aid mistake. I've been keeping a time bomb in my shoes so I know that my watch is correct. I got a tiger by the tail waiting for it to end tomorrow. I've been up all night burning my bridges, making jokes about ex-friends' fetishes. I won't tell you to hold on or say you don't deserve what you get, and you certainly won't ever see me take the first step. I got a tiger by the tail waiting for it to end tomorrow. I got a floorboard out in the garage. I've been overstimulated. I've been sore. I got away alive and sane. I didn't get strangled or stained. I got away alive and sane. And this is directly dedicated to Jennifer. Squat woman sealed in a shadow frock, trimmed in white, absence of light, selling stories from her garden she demands are heard, but is greeted with the silence of the crowd's indifference. She doesn't already know that we can breathe and that we can leave. She can't see that we already can walk through doors and open windows. Counterfeit prophet steals the locks. Illegal son, zero as one. Selling pictures of her dinner her guards are obliged to buy, even as her art collection is vanishing until the walls have nothing left hanging. She doesn't already understand that we can perceive and that we can receive. She can't see that we can paint flowers with any colors that we can imagine, and we can imagine each of them. Their far and distant minds are trails best left behind. Sister to her father stops the drain under a rotting stage, 6-month wage, selling reports carefully whispered in hopes her wealthy relatives will let her sign their wills first. She doesn't already know that we are her, twice as much or more, a complete verse. She can't see the red and gold bird flying right above. She can't see that we are her, twice as much or more. She can't see that she hands her keys to a steed who gallops away into the orange rolling hills. Orange rolling hills, orange rolling hills, orange rolling hills. This is written about somebody gave up. They're named in the named. This is written about somebody who gave up. I haven't. It's called Philadelphia. I was in Philadelphia waiting for the maid. I glanced out the window down at kids younger than me, looking like I did when I was 16, comparing biographies, completing each other's fragments, exchanging glasses, freezing enzymes on magnets. I stopped by the swimming pool and flicked a few crumbs out of the water. The convention got postponed into a parade. The police misplaced the exit, were unsympathetic to the problems that they had failed to protect. Like a dinosaur shell had fallen and cracked the Liberty Bell, whose continued drone quit cell phones and traffic and didn't cease until a line was cut to the Bryn Mawr bricks, which had gone unrestored since 1936. And Carrie, you saw the same kids I did, and you knew it had come to this. Carrie, hold out your hand. I want to reprint the sponsorship, because what was necessary has now become arbitrary. I was watching a movie with a chapter of valleys separating the tombs, and art that could be pointed to, and the assertion of dance, because that's why I can't aim at you. And you've been waiting since 1934, sleeping at Hepburn's door, while I wanted to be related to Betty Davis and still do. Carrie, hold out your hand, because I don't want just entertainment. I want some dark victory to grace us! Those kids were rendered wet and recruited with the Tourette's of decade-old prints that took every context and ground it dull until there was no place left to articulate yourself through anything other than facts. Carrie, hold out your hand, because the distractions aren't safe. Hold out your hand. Your stage used to be my private place. This is about, on the surface, this is about the military-industrial complex. But it is, in fact, not about the military-industrial complex. Though I am, of course, in no way a fan or supporter of the military-industrial complex. But you see, this poem uses one form of an abuse of power to discuss another form of an abuse of power. And this is a question that everyone will have to answer eventually. This is called, Would You Sell the Relics? The general that only cares about tomorrow also expects everyone to echo the same expression. When the general can no longer see the power of their influence, they try and exert control over any small circumstances under their command. While the brigadier general worries to no one if they need a transfusion, the colonel, who's concerned that not enough people's fingerprints matches theirs, requires a warning on the front page of each report, along with a summary cut together by a subordinate in a manner of minutes so they don't have to waste any energy generating any contradictory thoughts. While the captain enters their coordinates so their location is known and updated every moment, which leaves the captain free to make discoveries like the wheel or gravity, then sell their findings to the executives or campaign staff of their choice, urged by a strong sense of benevolence, a tribute to charity as a force. And the first lieutenant's unmatched love of history is proven by the pictures taken of their parents with Goebbels in Brazil in the 70s. And the second lieutenant's jealousy shows and grouses to one, "That's not Goebbels, it's clear it's Martin Bormann." The sergeant major that reset the standards of esprit de corps doesn't know the panic they'll feel a few short years later when they are urged out of the way, that they'll become stiff with resentment and resolute in their calls for punishment and institute measures to monitor how the company behaves, while the staff sergeant writes on a photo of themselves, "The future belongs to you," and daydreams about collecting the remaining virginities from the sorority house down the road, and they already have the names, ages, and weights in a frequently updated database. Then the staff sergeant complains about commercials before content. The chief warrant officer, who breaks ranks to research the order the alphabet was created in, gets rueful about seeing themselves age and attending charity events, funerals, and hospital visits, seeing their face in the mirror more washed out than before, wondering as they write their commencement address, who will even be paying attention in the audience? Drinking from puddles, seeing what the sky says, not being able to read, handwriting is children. Received a small puzzle in the mail. And to the private, it's all an eye roll, and all so boring and shallow to see another round of legacy shut out by an offhand remark. The private doesn't ask any of the officers where they should start. What's the matter where rebellion is kitsch and trauma is Walmart? The specialist greets the private. They each think that the other is a dilettante. And later, the specialist considers, what's the matter where you have 1,000 followers and not a dozen supporters? Would you sell the Relics? This is a slow boat to China. The razor skin fell on the seat. The roof had been gouged out by a key. The exits were guarded. A few numbers were written down, all typed out in a foreign language, all the product of inflation. The casino slot machines paid out with surf music and a 20-minute ring. The plumber knocked on the last room on the far wing and was tipped with uneaten meat. I keep trying to leave, but I only get more inside. I made it out of the garage only to be stuck behind a foreigner with $1,000 hubcaps on a $50 car. A girl climbed up the mic and before she got numb, asked them how they could stand the climate. She was from California, never was snowed on, didn't get stopped by trains, 25 miles to 20 miles to 10 miles, then down to 5, then down to 2, then down to 1, raging from dour to catatonic to irate. Can't tell a building from a train. Everyone drives through, except for me, though. I stopped the train. I took the wrong exit driving into the marching band display and wrote my senator complaining to his face, and he wrote back saying, "Yes, son, it's about time we did things your way." Everybody's an altar boy, looking for a lampshade to make straight, some Sunday spending money, a free robe, a thimble out of the river because they got to make their case. Trees grow faster in the city, according to the study. The nutrients depleted my body. No electricity is going to open that door. Ice is slow and not enough to keep my attention. My attention. Everybody acting like an altar boy, dragging their disagreements out into the streets, stopped, slow and coy, using their vestments for sheets. A few quick turns and pleas for a reward, but the holding cell is empty and I don't choose to open it today. I paid to replace the battery and canceled my appointments. The dentist charged me a late fee. The neighbor watched his lawn instead of TV. And here's the moral of the story. I put my dinner in a glass and filled it with water. Drank half and left the rest. I threw in some safety pins to see how fast they'd rust, and after 6 months, there were still no results. How are we doing out there? Doing okay. Beautiful. Love it. This is an old one. It's from 1997. I've read it many times now. It has a bad word in it, so if you are a stupid baby and you think usage of word means endorsement of that word or the sentiment of that word, I don't really know what to tell you. It is a device. I am a creative person, and I use these things as devices to make a point. So, and you never know, it might actually be a point that you agree with. What about that? What about the possibility of that? Open your mind real wide. Don't let anything slip out and entertain the possibility of that. Maybe, just maybe. Perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. This is a poem about freedom. This is called I Never Run Out of Money. He got in the car just to drive away. It was 80s night on the radio, and he felt his eyelids quiver from the thoughts left in them. He always wanted to go out with one of the older kids, and he sped past her house to remind himself that the whole thing hadn't been fiction. He had to chew on tablets of ephedrine just to stay awake, and as he careened down a one-lane town, the clock read 2:14 a.m. Name another place where you don't have to worry about the come on your coat from the guy in back of you on the bus or the weekend in Boys Town, where you lost all your money, where you can die for the 50 stars and still get reborn, where you can vomit on someone else's tonsils and still go home with them for the night. And you know that when you got a dime bag in your lap and you could drive the service entrance to paradise, it's not a privilege, it's a birthright. He was always fascinated by the kids who looked a few years older, who looked coked up by the time they were 13. The news came from Washington. He had a fantasy he kept kissing her on the forehead. Oliver North had been acquitted, and Fawn Hall wasn't to blame, just like when they arrested Manuel Noriega because he wouldn't pay cash for the shipping costs of all his cocaine. He pulled into Super K for some Coca-Cola and saluted the limp American flag on the way in. Rolling Stone had Bruce Springsteen on the cover, and he felt like he had razor blades inside his stomach. Somehow, everyone felt that let down by the Gulf War. It wasn't as funny as My Lai, it wasn't as bloody as Grenada, and gooks weren't bombed in the process. The commodities and golden parachutes kept all the middle management well liquored up by the time the first Bush was giving his resignation speech. Voodoo economics and the crack epidemic sometimes made you wish that Nixon had been right all along, but this never seemed to bother him, and the national debt never meant shit to any decent citizens, especially not the kids who saw Heathers when it was still in the theaters. He got off the phone with one of his friends who complained that crack smoking was just a quote-unquote cheap ghetto high. The erythromycin was fucking up his liver, but at least it kept the acne off. He read a book about Charles Manson and figured the only difference between him and Nixon was a few years in jail and a copy of the White Album, but still the thought of Squeaky or Sadie, all dressed up in their black capes, creepy crawling into someone's house was still freaky enough to keep him sleeping out on the couch. That night he had a horrible dream. Eric Estrada was hosting a beauty pageant at the Playboy Mansion featuring categories like worst facelift and most fucked up tip job, but he couldn't walk away from the spectacle of it all. All he could do was to slug down a bottle of Thunderbird and cradle a hard-on while slobbering, I do believe I'm ready for the Playboy Mansion. I want to see Hef. Open up those goddamn gates. He woke up before the former First Lady wet t-shirt contest and ran to his car in horror. He flicked in the ignition and forced in a homemade tape, and while Naughty Girls Need Love 2 leaked out, he thought about how much he hated all those old political arguments he heard that individuals are symptomatic of a sicker society. He came upon Super K, the great beacon for people who are lonely and cheap, and admired its neon beauty against the black backdrop sky. He was looking sideways and feeling sick about what was smothering up the rest of the land. Strip mall upon strip mall, grids and rows of anonymous stores. He thought about how all this used to be a beautiful forest and how disgusting it was that every developer was using their own lunch hooks to get a portion of the profits. He felt his stomach tighten from the thought of another obese teen selling Swatch watches and sunglasses, but then he turned his head forward, away from the strip mall, and saw nothing but outstretched lanes of tree branches and unpainted roads, and he knew that he was finally getting ready to go home. How are we doing out there? Doing good. Beautiful. Bing, bing, bing. We're actually going to do another one from Political Glitter. This is called 1 plus 1. Already cleared toward the light, already prepared for existence in time. 7 times belonging to a cosmic happening, 7 times occurring for what's already there. It's a pin-step balance already in place, without having to chant or petition for deliverance. Already inside of your mind is what's real, already away from a one-note idol, already tested under the subconscious. Everything you know will eventually be revealed. And this is called White Cello. Talk to me. I'm in the open window. I'm not in time, but I've got your watch, and I need to learn to play this white cello. Scratch the surface. I'm on the shore with a can of sugar. It's never bitter. I'd really rather be playing, though, because I like the white strings and the white bow. That's not her. That's her. It was the simplest thing you said today. I'm still reeling, with no moments except now. You don't possess any microscope, so instead I will take the telescope. I'm trying to be angelic, which isn't easy after getting desensitized with disappointments. Every night eating fresh vegetables, we're planning, oh, you already know, and then you talk me out of it. You don't have the pistol in your waistcoat, your teeth aren't flecked with flax seeds. My misjudgments are my own, and most are unknown. But just because I'm a pacifist doesn't mean that I'll let any dumb motherfucker abuse me. And speaking of myself, notice me. I'm standing next to the tree where the guy crashed the stolen car, then got out and ran for it. But I can behave for over 100 days, and I've squandered my efforts and so much goodwill that I sometimes still need to convince myself that I should try to take lessons to learn how to play at all. But I'm sure that you want me to, and I know what I can do. And with that, we're not missing anything. We're humming songs through the phone. We're midnight movers. We're holy rollers without a religion. No, we're not. And don't be the guy on the bike in the right lane racing for his life against rush hour traffic in the morning. I know you are, and you know that I care, and I feel like I'm Clark Kent, dressed up in primary colors, and I just haven't taken off my glasses yet. She said to me, as long as it's not evil, and I said to her, I cannot be evil, certainly not right now, but it's the rising sun, it's a hard-boiled egg, it's basil, it's a blue charm. I just want to play the white cello. I just want to sit in a circle and think about it some more so we can wrap this up or we can test people's patience. No, 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 no. I'm thinking out loud. It's warm communication. See, that's what I'm talking about. So instead, I'm going to change some channels. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, and all somebodies must be wearing a blue suit. Clothe the slants and cut off your slants, and it'll be like a reverse safari where they put lions, cheese, and tigers in a truck and driving around and showing people shopping and walking down the street or pumping gas. It'll be the apex of manifestation. It won't be like the Bible, but it'll be something from the Bible, or reversed. It'll be the suburban safari where some guy named Greg gives you a little pith helmet and plastic binoculars, and you can wait under his kitchen table for the cat to use the litter box. But why does it gotta be white? Never heard from before. Advertising space available. Clean, clear water. And, of course, the tastiest tomatoes. And now we are going to do the last piece of the night. My God, what do you know about that? God bless us all. This is Rubber Buttons. Good Lord. All sorts of crazy stuff happening. Bing, bing, bing. No. Good Lord. Why is this taking so long? Enough fucking around. No, we're still fucking around. It needs to be kept simmering. How should slowly and quietly. Let's go! My shoelaces are undone, which means someone likes me as much as I love to see a basket of swimming snowflakes. My shoelaces are undone, so I throw them next to a trunk full of styrofoam tongues, and the person who brought them yells, "Thank you!" The first person in the castle has the obvious advantage if they wish to scrape their fingernails against century-old windows. They can concentrate vacantly while being unfailingly polite at insisting their hands are made of the same sand as found outside on the beach. They know there is no joy in failure for their friends, and that the fun and restoration happens once the work is done. The second person in the castle has obvious ease with boldly seizing treasure only they can see through a fizzing camera lens. They can research quietly while having no qualms about their ambition outstripping their abilities in assessing gaudy antiques. They know there is no lemon rich enough in sourness to let their taste get challenged into swallowing insects in soiled tents. The third person in the castle has the obvious edge when turning their profile to face the East End in hopes of repairing a table leg. They can dutifully saw and sweep the dust into the bin until the bell sounds for them to begin slicing vegetables up in the kitchen. They know there is no crack deep enough to keep them from molding jellies into a series of perfectly semi-translucent wedges. I want brass buttons for my cousin. Because I could not count for cufflinks, they counted for me. Because I could not look for light bulbs, they looked for me. Because I could not dance for diamonds, they danced for me. They realized the chateau has the clear advantage as the place to evaluate flashy antiques. I want brass buttons for my cousin, but I make the rubber buttons to wear for myself. While I sew, I look at the library and remember each of my most memorable finds. I want brass buttons for my cousin, but I make the rubber buttons that I wear on my jacket. I buy the materials from the tan-toothed man who sold my mom a gold wishing box. I want brass buttons for my cousin because when I preach with the collar, it preaches with me. I want brass buttons for my cousin because when I move with the minnows, they move with me. They realize the chateau has the clear advantage when you're evaluating flashy antiques. Let's go! It's all right. My shoelaces are undone, so I only walk sideways and photograph a plum purple terracotta planted with a flag with a price tag sticking out of it. I'd say that 3 times fast. Though it's hard to know. My shoelaces are undone, which means someone likes me, as much as I love wearing an apricot ascot while hearing stories about Korean camping sites. The first person in the tower can brighten their senses by energetically exchanging sunglasses and hairstyles. Once safely ensconced up at the top, they can cheerfully sing along with anything, though they prefer Caruso and ragtime to songs they don't already know. There is usually a fixed point in the distance for them to focus on things, such as a helicopter or hawk taking off shortly after dawn. The second person in the tower can loudly shout, "How I love my girl!" which echoes back so overwhelmingly that they can think that they're in a private booth. They can detect the scent of her shampoo in the wind and look down and see her looking up and running towards them. There is normally an iron staircase nailed in 40 years ago, which serves as the one modern addition to the edifice. The third person in the tower can tell endless jokes over dinner about the rabbits they saw nipping chocolate from their mother's open purses. They can wear a lei around their necks which contrasts sharply with their pinstripe sport coat and tartan flat cap. There is always a sauna where they can fall asleep underneath a slippery painting of their father all dressed up as a captain. My shoelaces are undone. They lay underneath the warmth of the sun. This is a true depiction, recited with excellent diction. Let's go! And now I recall other memories. From walking around the castle, the humidity kept at bay, clouds letting loose only hints of rain, and vines intertwining across each other, and each new flower that blooms another gift for the dozens of bees in love with the newness of June. It's all on top of my eyes. The curious sage in an orange and brown dashiki, standing before a statue of the stripped Christ, arms open and hovering. All on top of my eyes. Lithium batteries in between her teeth. All on top of my eyes. 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 They say for every boy and girl there's just one love in this whole world, and I know I've found mine. The heavenly touch of your embrace tells me no one could take your place ever in my heart. Young love, first love, filled with true devotion. Young love, our love we share with deep emotion. Just one kiss from your sweet lips will tell me that your love is real, and I can feel that it's true. We will vow to one another there will never be another love for you or for me. Young love, first love, filled with true devotion. Young love, our love we share with deep emotion. All on top of my eyes, lithium batteries in between her teeth. She holds a screwdriver dipped in green paint as she walks over underground cables. All on top of my eyes, in between her toes. She staves off headaches with gallons of water and sleeping when she can. All on top of my eyes, the swells of excitement are just one continued drone. All on top of my eyes. All on top of my eyes. All on top of my eyes. Close concert of ideas. Stretching fingers. You did a great job today. Devoted. Seriously. All on top of my eyes. One wonder. One today. And that, folks, is another exciting edition of the quarantine stream. We hope that you've enjoyed it. By the grace of God, we will be back next week. So let us hear the quarantine stream theme one more time. Beautiful. All right. Folks, as I said before, by the grace of God, we will be back next week. Until then, stay safe, stay smart, and stay free, because you already are. Yes. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. All right. Otherwise, goodbye. Bye, everybody.